How's your day been so far?
It's been really nice, actually. Thank you. I've been working with a breathwork specialist on a new recording that's coming out next week. It's really nice to collaborate with other people in a similar kind of field to me. I've been working on some new scripts, and yeah, that's about all I've been doing today.
When I first became aware of you, I was at a friend's house. I heard this angelic voice coming through, and I said, "What are you listening to?" And he said, "Come on over here." And there you were. It was one of your videos that was playing on YouTube. And so I immediately became connected to that because it's always been part of my thing. I'm a very audible type. I don't know if you'd call it my love style or what. But I was immediately attracted to the sound of your voice, and I really started at that point to learn about you and find out about Tansy Forest. I guess my first question is, Tansy, were you named after the
I was named Tansy, yeah, after the flower. My parents were hippies in the 70s, and they're just very into nature and years. Yeah, so they love the natural world, and so I think they wanted something that was unusual, and they found the name Tansy. But Forest is actually my husband Tom's name.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, great. Oh, super.
Mhm.
See, I thought maybe, mom and dad were maybe hippies and thought that that would be really a wonderful kind of image to put out there.
Yeah, it just so happens that the flower and the forest meet. So, although it wasn't the name I was given at birth, it's kind of that's the way things have come together, which is quite nice.
Oh, yeah. What part of the world are you in right now, Tansy?
So, I'm in Wimbledon, in the south of London. I've been in London for about 10 years. But I was in Bristol before that when I was at university. And before that, I grew up in Dorset. So I've kind of done a bit of the West Country and
Yeah.
then found myself in the capital.
I went to school in London, and I'll tell you a funny story. Back then, I didn't know London very well when I first came to
Mm.
London to study, and I wanted to get tickets to a concert that was going to be at Wembley. So, being a dumb American Yank, I bought tickets on the train and I bought tickets to Wimbledon, thinking that's where Wembley was. And so
Uh,
they're not very close. So you really have to be careful when you don't know your way around.
yeah. Did you enjoy your time in London?
Oh, yeah. I was there for a few
Mm,
years schooling, and I've been back several times since. And
mm.
it's one of my very favorite places in the world.
Yeah, it's very busy, but it's nice. And Wimbledon's a little bit out. It's a bit sort of more quieter, and we've got the common. You can go rambling on Wimbledon Common and kind of get lost in the forested areas up there, which I really like. So it's kind of
Hmm.
country comes to town, and you see the odd horse wandering across the common too. So yeah, it's a little bit of a mixture.
I wanted to ask you about your background in social sciences because I guess that's where you really first studied in depth. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So, how did you go from social sciences, or maybe it's necessary for you to explain to folks what
Mm.
social sciences is and how you morphed your way into hypnosis and hypnotic suggestion and relaxation and cessation of alcohol use and just your kind of the genesis of all of your education, how you got to where you are now.
I started studying sociology as my first degree, and I really enjoyed it. Sociology is about the study of how different groups in society, get on, how they fare within the education system, how they fare within the criminal justice system. So you look at areas such as race, ethnicity, gender. And one of the areas I was particularly interested in was social class differences and how young people from impoverished backgrounds how they fared within the system and how they felt about their choices and their opportunities. So I think my interest in social class came from my parents' background. So my mother was from a working class background, and she grew up on a council estate, and her mother was a nurse and her dad was a coal miner. So my mum went to grammar school and she was socially mobile. My dad came from a much more upper class background. A lot of his family were professors and academics. Um, and so my mum and my dad getting together were from different backgrounds. And my experience of being in my family was kind of different sides of the divide, of the more genteel side of life and also more kind of humble beginnings, if you like. And I think that's what drove my interest in social class. And I feel that I've always been interested in championing those who come from difficult circumstances. And I think what spans my work is looking at people, the underdog in a sense. So when it was sociology, it was about the working class. And in terms of my therapy work, it's about those people who have had difficulties with addiction. And we know that they face, stigma in society. So I'm always trying to think about how I can make things better for people, from different sort of walks of life and different circumstances. My studies in sociology took me into sociology of education, where I did my master's at the IOE. And I did my project where I interviewed lots of young people in the poor areas where I taught, to find out about their experience of being working class and how they felt about opportunities for them.
Sociology being the science of society has always just made me think, wow, that is such a cool kind of thing because it encompasses such a wide array of various different kinds of educational and academic disciplines,
Mm.
anthropology and archaeology and economics. And how does that work its way into wanting to serve the community and addiction and so on along those lines? And you also mentioned underserved communities and people who are not so privileged. So does that all
Mm.
sort of fit together? Is there a way we can look over our shoulder behind us and kind of connect the dots?
Yeah, I think so. And I think my YouTube channel's done that quite a bit for people who can't, because, lots of people are in a mental health crisis at the moment and they struggle to find services to meet their needs. And I think YouTube is quite good because it means I can put my tracks to help people that are feeling stressed, are feeling anxious, and they can get those for free. And I get paid by YouTube, by Patreons and people who give generously donations sometimes. So that affords me a living. So, but it means at the point of access, so they don't have to pay. And I think that's really important to me, to make sure, I'm not just serving those who can afford sessions. There's something for everyone there.
When you do your, I'm imagining that you're probably pretty well scripted and that you're following that more so than it being off the top of your head. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yes. So
Yeah.
I work on my scripts. I sort of take inspiration from places that I go to and I write about it and I edit the script and I spend time on that because I think I can do it off the top of my head, but you wouldn't get the same level of detail and clarity. So yes, it's
Mm.
prepared in advance.
Regarding your voice and so on, you must pay special attention to your audio, your sound, the timbre, the moisture in your throat, being able to pronounce words. You must spend a lot of time with that. Someone like you who's gifted with such a wonderful sound, how much of the therapeutic aspect of what you deliver is sound related and how much is therapy related and how do those two things fit together? So how much of what you're doing is the words and how much of it is the sound, I guess is really at the core of my question.
Yeah, I think it's hard to. So the way that I try to look at it is that I try and use my voice to um to soothe, to nurture, to help people unwind, to when they're ruminating. What I try and do is give them something that stimulates them enough to keep their interest, but is boring enough in a sense to send them to sleep eventually. You don't want to make it too stimulating.
Right.
And I put emphasis on particular words. So I try and get the feeling of words, a bit like a singer does, when they speak a word. So if I speak the word relax, for example, I'm really thinking about focus of relaxation so that it comes across as more authentic in that way, that I'm really conveying that message rather than just speaking just off the bat. It's with feeling, and I think that helps people as well to unwind.
When I listen to you, I think my heart rate falls and I feel relaxed. However, I think also there are other things going on where maybe, although my heart rate falls, I think is an indicator of emotional arousal. It's so interesting when you listen to music or someone speaking like yourself or someone doing hypnotic therapy, that there are all these different things going on in the people who are listening to you. Is that something that you are aware of?
Um, well, not really, no. I
Mm.
mean, I just kind of practiced and practiced to see what works on my clients, I suppose. I'm still practicing therapist and I still have private clients. So I try different things with them and see what works. And then, over time, you just get more practice at what helps people. And also, a lot of it is what helps me as well. So I try and think about what would people want to hear right now in this moment if they're having a difficult time, and then that translates into a caring tone, really.
Do you think that your work has become more meaningful in this post-COVID world, and that there are people who are suffering more than prior to that? And maybe there's more anxiety and depression and sleeplessness that you can help work on?
Yeah, I think if we look at the statistics, so many people are suffering from anxiety and depression. Um, and this isn't something that will cure it. I always advocate people going and speaking with a therapist or their doctor, but I think it will help unwind if it's the right. I think it's very personal. Some people like a certain type of voice, some people prefer a male or a female. It's about getting that right tone to the individual.
I think it's really extraordinary when I've looked through many of the comments that people write on your YouTube channel, they utilize your videos instead of a sleeping pill, which is pretty amazing that someone will just turn on your channel, listen to Tansy for a little while, and then they'll wake up and, some 8 hours later feeling all refreshed. And the last thing that they did was watch your show. That's fascinating to me. Have you have you found out whether or not that there are people who have been able to cut out their medication for sleeping, who have been listeners of yours, or any of that kind of evidence that's not just anecdotal but real?
Well, I haven't conducted any research as such, but there is many people that do say it does help. And I think a lot of sleeping issues are caused by anxiety, aren't they? Of like, I made a recording for a lady yesterday, and she says she was, you know, using different sleep aids to get to sleep, and she just wanted something more natural. So I did her a track that was just about reassuring her that the time would take its course and the body knows how to relax and unwind, and that she's safe, and sometimes just to take the pressure off falling asleep, but just to say to oneself, okay, I might not fall asleep straight away, but I'm just going to rest now and give my body the time it needs. And then that just takes the pressure off a little bit. But of course, there's other things that I can do, such as, progressive muscle relaxation is really effective. So, people focus on different parts of the body one at a time and then allow it to relax. And that, if you're working your way through your whole body, by the end, I find it very difficult to get to the end before I fall asleep. So, yeah, there's nice little, I try and put little techniques in there as well to help people.
Yeah, I think the techniques are way more strong for people to learn and to heal than a philosophy. So when you have me direct my attention to my shoulder and my neck, and you work down my body and I can focus on what you're saying, I think it can be really, really beneficial.
Yeah, no, I like that as well.
Are you aware of a guy named Darren Brown in the UK?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Tell me your thoughts on him because I'm not quite sure what he is. If he's a showman, a hypnotist, a mentalist, a psychic, what is he? Because I found him pretty fascinating over the years watching some of his specials and shows. Is that something that he does, which is similar to what you're doing as well?
Well, I think he's a stage hypnotist, isn't he? Yeah,
I
yeah.
think he does a lot of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so stage hypnotism is very different to what I do. It's for entertainment purposes. Um, and I think people, and it's often linked together with hypnotherapy. So people think, oh, you're going to control my mind, make me do things against my will. So as hypnotherapists, we have to kind of explain that that's not going to happen. And it's not for entertainment and it's not about mind control. I always say to my clients, no one can make you go into hypnosis. You do it for yourself. You can also come out of hypnosis if you needed to at any time. And also, we're bound by very strict protocols as to what we can and can't do in a session. I think Darren Brown and people like that, they would, choose people who are susceptible to wanting to do these challenges, and people, that are up for doing that kind of thing. It's not, I'm not sure if I went up there that it would have the same effect. I'd be interested to try it though.
Right. So you don't perceive yourself as being highly susceptible to any sort of a hypnotic trance or state or suggestion?
Well, I think it's different when I'm a hypnotherapist doing it, right? If you'd
Yeah,
have
yeah.
asked me, 15 years ago before I trained, I think it'd be different. But I think you kind of, you as working in the field, it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be a fair test, really.
No, you're into helping people overcome alcohol addiction. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works? And does the person with the alcohol addiction need to be ready in some ways before your work is going to benefit them?
Most clients that come to me, well, all clients that come to me, they are ready for change, and they're committing by paying for a course of therapy, and they may have tried other things. They may have tried cutting down on their own. They may have tried seeking advice elsewhere. Nothing else has worked for them.
Is the work that you do an adjunct to other medical therapies, or can hypnosis in any kind of a given situation help someone become a better sleeper, become a better lover, lose the weight, or whatever it might be that they really want help with?
So it depends on the circumstances of the individual. I find for alcohol, for example, most of my clients are down without any other help apart from working with me and the hypnosis. Some of my clients find it trickier to cut down, and then I may work with a doctor to prescribe something as well. More recently, I've been trained in the Sinclair method, which uses a drug called naltrexone, and it can be taken 1 hour before people drink, and it actually reduces their desire for alcohol over time, which is, a little heard about, but very important development in the treatment of alcohol use disorder.
Sounds very much like the drug GLP-1 that they're using in the Ozempic diabetes weight loss drug that is being used right now, reduces people's desire to eat, lessens their appetite. Is that somehow related to the medication that's being used to lessen someone's desire to drink?
Yeah, I think you're right, actually. But the benefit of naltrexone is slightly more. My understanding is if you stop taking Ozempic, your appetite will return. Whereas that's not the case with naltrexone. Naltrexone permanently rewires the brain,
Wow.
and the brain learns new sort of ways of responding it, and just yeah takes away that desire permanently. But one always has to take naltrexone with drinking. It's something that you would take for life. So it's like a lifelong commitment in that sense.
Right. A lot of those drugs, what I can see as the problem with a lot of those drugs, and we'll talk about the Ozempic for a second, is that doctors are prescribing it and it appears to be working. But what they don't talk about when they give you that medication is that one needs to change their behavior. Because
Mm.
if you're eating less crappy food, if you were to go off that medication, you'll go right back to where you were. So I think that
Mm.
the missing component is the behavioral component, and I'm wondering if that's the same thing with uh, what you just mentioned, and maybe hypnotherapy. Do people need to also learn to change behavior when they start doing those things?
Yeah, absolutely. And a good example of that is with naltrexone is helpful in some ways. So it'll take away your desire for alcohol. But what it won't do is help you deal with other areas of your life. So, for example, stress, you might have turned to alcohol in times of stress, but it's not naltrexone is not going to help you for stress. So you need to learn new ways of coping with life without resorting to alcohol. But it definitely does the heavy lifting for you. But I think it's important definitely to do the behavior change side of things as well, which is why the doctor that I work with, advocates the medication alongside a course of behavior change therapy to ensure people get those lasting results.
That sounds like definitely the way to go. Are you finding that alcohol or weight loss or anxiety are the big three in your business for the people who are suffering?
Yeah, I'd say 95% of my clients are alcohol related.
Mm.
So that's kind of my niche. I do work with anxiety relating to sleep, but I wouldn't say I'm an anxiety specialist. I like to work with things that I'm confident with, I'm comfortable
Sure.
with, rather than doing everything.
Yeah. Have you studied NLP in your years as a hypnotherapist?
I did a long time ago.
When I listen to you, it sounds like you have a background in neuro-linguistic programming, or the person who's writing your scripts beside you might also have a background because I think that that is very powerful and healing.
Yeah, I do use some techniques of NLP as well. The style that I have is developed over time. It's always changing, but you pick up new techniques along the way as you go.
Right, right. Do you mind if we switch gears for a second and talk about something
Sure,
other than hypnotherapy?
of course.
Great. What have you eaten today?
So I have had some yogurt and fruit for breakfast, and coffee. And then I had a chicken salad for lunch.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for dinner, which I guess is coming pretty soon, what will you
hmm
have?
So we are using some meal kits at the moment, which are quite good because they're, they for busy working parents, they allow you to pre-decide what you're going to have. But I think we're having some Asian steak salad with noodles and edamame beans, which sounds quite nice.
Those meal kits are the same over there as they are here, right? The food is delivered, it's pre-portioned along with ingredients and instructions, and then you just kind of put it all together and have a delicious yum yum meal.
Yeah, that's it. It's very because when you can't think of what to do at the end of the day, it's kind of like, it just takes the stress out of thinking about it.
Right, you can't always pop out for a curry because you're at home and you're tired, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have a certain specialty as far as when you do cook, what you like to make? And do you have any favorite kind of or types of cuisines?
Yeah, so when I cook, I absolutely love to do like a traditional English roast. So I'll do roast chicken, roast potatoes, gravy, all the trimmings, like pigs in blankets, we call them over here, with the sausage wrapped in bacon. And I like to do cauliflower cheese. And yeah, and have that with a nice glass of red wine on a Sunday and have some friends over. That's my real happy time to do that.
Yeah, that is an outstanding experience having a Sunday roast.
Yeah. Oh, and one thing I forgot was Yorkshire pudding as well. I
Oh,
love to make Yorkshire puddings. Do you
oh
have those
yeah.
in America?
Well, only those of us who have been there know about that, but it's not a
Uh,
standard in any American restaurant or kitchen. When you make your roast, is it roasted entirely in the oven or is it sometimes potted like here in America where we make a pot roast in sort of a braised style, or is it a dry roast only?
well, my mother did a lot of braising, because when they had animals on the farm, they were using older animals, so they would tend to do
Hmm.
like a braising.
Right.
But I prefer to do it just in the oven. So yeah, that's my favorite kind of method of cooking. Yeah.
So are you pretty advanced? Can you tell by the look, the touch, the smell, and the length of time it's been cooking of whether or not it's at its perfect level, or using a digital probe thermometer to find out the temperature of your internal meat?
Oh, I can just tell. Yeah, I've been doing roast chicken for so long that I can just tell when it's perfect. So
I
yeah.
love that. I love hearing, when people are so confident and comfortable in doing something like that, that they could just do it, they can pull it off, no problems whatsoever.
Yeah, no, it's a favorite of mine, but it's a bit warm now, we're into June now, so the roasts have to
Right.
go on the sideline. We get the barbecue out now, which is nice.
Oh, so you get to step outside and pop stuff on the grill, yeah?
Yeah, and I'm quite a gardener and it's looking quite nice out there, and I've got lots of flowers. So I try and get out in the garden as much as possible at this time of year.
And what is it that you're growing, and are there any edibles in your garden?
Yes, actually, this year is the first year that me and my little boy Max have actually, we've got some tomatoes and some strawberries growing. They're just, starting to show now, which is nice. And I've got lots of herbs for cooking. Some basil, some parsley,
Wow.
sage, and then I've got lots of hanging baskets with petunias. And I've got some cyclamen that have just come out, nasturtiums that are all
Hmm.
growing. So yeah, quite a lot of edible plants in there as well. So yeah, it's very nice, very
Do you have
colourful.
do you have to grow tansy since your name is Tansy also in your garden?
I haven't got any, but I noticed it's coming out in my parents' garden actually. So yeah, it's very strong. It's a weed actually. So it used to grow by the waysides in old English times. It's a very strong plant and it's got little yellow buttons like the inside of a daisy, and
Hmm.
it's sort of clusters of buttons, and then it's got a very sort of pungent smell. So yeah, it doesn't smell the sweetest, but it's quite pretty.
It sounds like you're very mindful with your life. And are there any other little ones running around?
No, just Max. Yeah.
What's it like being a working mom and Papa is also a working dad, and then having a
Mm.
child and you're busy? Is it difficult for you to incorporate that, or is it pretty natural? You've got a good thing going on as far as your timing and how you feel?
Yeah, well, I think as a therapist, like I have to walk the walk and look after myself. So it's so easy when you work for yourself to kind of over commit to things, or, sort of mix up sort of opportunities with distractions. So I have to be quite careful what I take on.
Hmm.
And I've become quite good at doing that. There are times when I get very busy, but I sometimes go on retreat. Next week I'm going on a mindfulness retreat to Devon,
Hmm.
where I'll spend a few days in a old kind of country mansion, just meditating and zoning out from life. So I have my ways of supporting my well-being, which is good.
Are some of those ways disconnecting from social media, maybe not speaking for a while. When you talk about meditation, are you engaging in social or are you getting away from it all?
Oh yeah, it's when you go on the retreat, there's no phones. It's just, you, nature, and that's it, which I find very healing. I find phones particularly to be kind of problematic. I don't like the fact that I've, got this device next to me all the time, but it's beneficial in some ways, and then in other ways it's kind of, I feel a bit tied to it. But that's such as life.
Everybody's got a device at the end of their arms and they're constantly connected to it. So when you're at a restaurant and you see a couple having dinner together and you see them both on their phones, something like that, that kind of a scene just makes me crazy to see that.
Yeah, yeah. Me and my husband, we have this rule: it's dinner, no phones. We're watching TV, no phones. So that time we keep, special, and that works. Or when we're lying in bed, we don't have phones. I think that's what's worked best for us is just like having boundaries with devices. But when I see people in the restaurant and they're children and they're just, on their phone, that makes me a bit sad.
How old is Max?
He's just 5. He's just turned 5.
Okay, so he's not quite yet into the mommy, mommy, I want a phone. So, how will you and your husband deal with that when Max's friends are starting to arrive at school with devices and technology? And you want to protect Max from the world because that's what we want to do for our kids, if at all possible. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. Well, I mean, it's something that I haven't thought a great deal about yet.
Hmm.
But my husband's quite good on tech, so I'm sure that we'll be able to find some way to have age appropriate things on his phone, So,
Right.
but I think going back to what I said before about boundaries, in terms of when it is okay to use it, when it isn't okay, and to teach young people to be discerning about social media. I think that's going to be really important.
Yeah, I think that a lot of parents are being faced with many, many difficulties related to what social media has created and starting to spin out of control within the family unit. And
Mm,
so I would imagine that a lot of that kind of work is coming your way or will be.
yeah, I think so.
How do you approach relapses or setbacks in one of your clients' progress related issues? Like, what if they go back and they have a drink, or what if they put on a couple stone? And how do you deal with that? How do you reset yourself to be able to help somebody who has fallen off the wagon, so to speak?
Well, I think that lapses and relapses are all part of the change process. So
Hmm.
um, I cover this in my book, in fact, my forthcoming book on cutting down on alcohol. And lapses aren't a collapse. They are an opportunity to get stronger for the future. So often they have ways of showing us, in the case of alcohol, for example, if a person overdrank, because I work with alcohol moderation, so cutting down as opposed to cessation. So if someone drank more than they expected, which happens, right? It happens to me sometimes,
Hmm.
I wish in a perfect world that that weren't the case, but real life happens. And if people hit a period of stress or a particularly stressful event, then it can be that they kind of, drink more than they intend. So it's just about how you manage that and how you look at, so why was it that that happened and what could we do differently next time, and that's where the real strength comes in, which makes you stronger for the future.
Right, right. So you're saying that it's sort of like a business person who needs to fail before they can really attain success, right? It kind of strengthens your character when you do have that relapse. It's time to get back on the horse and reproject positivity.
Yes, absolutely. And this is a key part of what my work entails is helping people to feel positive again, to know that it's okay not to get things right all the time, and to feel supported and, to feel empowered to make a change.
Right. Before I ask you about your demographic on your YouTube channel, tell us
Mhm.
the name of some of your past books and websites where people who want to check you out can do so.
Sure. So my website is tansyforest.com. That's forest with a double R. And my YouTube is also Tansy Forest. And then my book is going to be on 10 Steps to Drink Less and Live Well. And that's forthcoming. So that's not been published yet. It's finished, but it's in the pipeline. And yeah, I'm on Instagram at tansy_forest too.
Everywhere. Do you have people who do a lot of your social work for you, or is that pretty much a Tansy experience?
Yeah, I've got a few people that help me. Yeah,
Uh,
definitely. It's just a small select team that help me with the tech stuff.
Back to your demographic, I'm going to guess that you're probably female heavy in your fans or your listener base. Can you confirm or deny?
Yeah, it's just over half is female and
Wow.
yeah, so it's not heavily female. It's just over half, I believe, currently. And it's a large proportion are in America.
Hmm.
Um, and UK, Australia, it's obviously a smaller amount because there's less people in Australia and less people in the UK. So it's predominantly in America. Yeah. So
That is so cool that you have a good blend of male female instead of it being, heavy on one side and lighter on the other. That means that you're hitting that sweet spot.
yeah, no, it's nice. I mean, I find that with my private practice as well. I think when I began hypnotherapy, I thought I was going to be working more with females for some reason, but actually, I find men, is easy to work with as women. Yeah, I don't have. I'm more sort of future focused, so it's quite a practical approach that I take. So I think it appeals to both.
How do you incorporate feedback from your clients into your life? How are you able to deal with that? Is that something that assistants are able to help you with, or do you incorporate feedback from your clients into your practice in some other ways, just through thought and mindfulness?
Do you mean like comments on the YouTube channel? Then
I know that when people comment, they love when the creator responds to them. So, is that something that you enjoy doing, or that is important that you find for yourself?
yes, I think it's really important to understand the experience of those that are listening, and you can always get good ideas. I'm always asking for ideas for new settings from my listeners. I like to know where they're from as well. Yeah, just it gives me that sense that I'm communicating with people out there, real people, and some
Hmm.
people they sometimes they one guy commented on the video I did with an interview and he said, oh, I didn't know you were real. And I thought that was interesting. So um yeah, it's nice to have that human connection in a sense.
Right, because you wouldn't want people thinking that you're in any way AI.
No, I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not.
Are there any, what you might consider the latest trends or advancements in hypnotherapy that you're incorporating into your work?
So, a big trend that I've seen is that for manifestation. And I've been doing a couple of recent recordings about how people can kind of start to visualize the positive future, connect with the universe if they believe in a spiritual element to destiny. Um, and that's been really, really really, really rewarding. I've had lots of good feedback about that, and I've enjoyed that myself. And people can kind of make the mood board, and then they can put that on the wall, and then they can listen to the hypnosis. So I've enjoyed that trend, and I hope that that continues because I've been really enjoying the manifestation.
Oh, yeah. Have you been paying attention to the whole crazy political thing that's going on here in America?
Yes, yeah, we do. It does filter through to us, yeah.
Can you express what your thoughts are? Because here it's pretty much out of control. It's been
Mm.
one-sided. And I wanted to hear from someone who's not from America what their opinion is on what's going on, not necessarily which guy is right or wrong.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult. I mean, when I speak to my clients in America, often because I have a lot of clients in around New York, and all parts of America, and I do feel sorry for them sometimes because they do say it's a bit of a strange situation for them to live with, in a sense, and is quite divided. Um, in terms of my political persuasions, I grew up in a sort of quite a left-wing family.
Hmm.
So that would be where I'm at. Um,
Right. The
yeah.
hippie parents kind of make sense.
Yeah. And the sociology background as well. You don't
Right.
really meet many, well, pretty much any right-wing sociologists. So yeah, there's the clue there.
Yeah, yep, definitely. Well, you guys are also having your share of issues going on in the political arena, aren't you?
Yes, we are. Yeah. Yeah, we're hoping for a change soon. But,
Hmm.
I think I try not to get too much into politics, with the work that I do. I used to be very much like that, but I find that it can be a divisive topic. And I don't want to alienate myself from different parts of my audience by being too strong in either way. So I
Right.
tend to, although I give you a hint as to my background, it's not something that I would, openly kind of advocate on my platform.
I totally understand that, and I'm pretty much the same way. However, maybe I should be one of your clients because it's just when I look around and I see all the craziness that's going on, it's like, I could use some help. Maybe I should see Tansy.
Well, you'd be very welcome, Matthew. If maybe the YouTube is helping you in some way. Have you found it to be help you to de-stress at all?
I love the opportunity to meet people like you, and I
Mm,
love the opportunity to speak with people that I want to speak with. And
yeah.
so, yeah, I've found this to be a really, really helpful tool for social purposes and also for educational purposes. I learn a lot when I get interview and speak with and share with people like you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been really, really lovely.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. Tell everybody your website and where they can reach you or your YouTube channel.
Yeah, so my website is tansyforest.com and my YouTube is just Tansy Forest. So that's Tansy, then Forest with a double R. If you just type that in, then all my stuff will come up.
That's right, friends. And if you want to be able to fall asleep, you're having trouble with that, you should definitely check out Tansy because she'll help you get there. Tansy, when we say goodbye, we say aloha. So I want to say aloha to you and thank you so much for coming on to 50 Tastes of Gray.
Oh, thank you very much, Matthew. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much.
I'm very happy. I thought it was fantastic. I actually really enjoyed it. I kind of relaxed into it and
Good.
yeah, I really enjoyed it, Matthew. So thank you.